Inside the cramped cockpit of the Messerschmitt Me 163 Comet, the pilot sits wedged tightly between thin metal walls, every inch of space occupied by levers, gauges, and exposed mechanisms. The canopy above him is small and curved, offering only a narrow view of the runway ahead. His gloved hands move with precision, checking switches, adjusting fuel valves, and gripping the control stick as if it were the only thing anchoring him to reality. The air feels tense, heavy with the knowledge that this is no ordinary aircraft. It is a volatile rocket strapped to a fragile frame. A faint vibration begins beneath him, subtle at first, like a distant rumble of thunder. Then, without warning, the rocket engine ignites. The cockpit erupts into chaos. A deafening roar engulfs everything, so loud it feels like it's tearing through his skull. The entire aircraft shudders violently, metal panels rattling as if they might rip free at any moment. The force is immediate and brutal. He is slammed back into his seat, his body crushed under the sudden acceleration, vision narrowing as G-forces press against his chest. The gauges in front of him flicker wildly, needles jumping as the speed climbs faster than any conventional aircraft could manage. The vibration intensifies, making even the smallest movements difficult. His breathing becomes labored, each inhale a struggle against the crushing force pinning him down. Sweat forms under his helmet despite the cold air rushing through the cockpit. Outside, the ground begins to blur, disappearing almost instantly as the Comet surges forward with terrifying speed. There is no gradual takeoff, no gentle climb, only raw, explosive power. In a matter of seconds, the aircraft is no longer simply moving, it is launching, tearing itself free from the earth with unstoppable force. Inside the cockpit, the pilot can do nothing but hold steady, endure the violence of the ascent, and trust that both man and machine will survive the fury unleashed behind him. The Messerschmitt Me 163 Comet surges upward with terrifying intensity, climbing almost straight into the sky as if pulled by an invisible force. Inside the cockpit, the pilot is pressed heavily into his seat, his body struggling against the crushing G-forces that make even the simplest movement feel impossible. His chest tightens, each breath shallow and strained, as though the air itself has grown heavier. The roar of the rocket engine continues relentlessly behind him, a constant thunder that vibrates through the entire aircraft and into his bones. The altimeter needle spins rapidly, climbing faster than the mind can process. Within seconds, the familiar green of the earth fades into a distant blur, replaced by a vast expanse of sky that deepens from pale blue into a darker, colder shade. The horizon curves subtly, reminding him just how high and how fast he is going. The canopy trembles under the stress, small vibrations rippling across the glass as the aircraft cuts through the thinning air. His gloved hand tightens around the control stick, fighting to keep the nose steady as the Comet pushes toward the edge of its limits. Every instinct screams at him to ease back, but there is no room for hesitation. The aircraft is built for this moment, an explosive climb designed to intercept enemies in the shortest time possible. The fuel burns rapidly, and he knows this burst of power will not last long. The pressure on his body grows almost unbearable, vision narrowing at the edges as darkness threatens to creep in. Still, he forces himself to stay focused, eyes locked on the instruments that flicker and shake with the violent motion. Outside, the sky continues to darken, the world below now far beyond reach. In this fleeting moment, suspended between Earth and space, the pilot exists in a realm of pure speed and power, riding a machine that feels less like an aircraft and more like a controlled detonation carrying him skyward. The roar of the rocket engine suddenly vanishes, leaving the Messerschmitt Me 163 Comet suspended in an eerie, unnatural silence. Inside the cockpit, the change is jarring. Just moments ago, the aircraft was a violent storm of noise and vibration. Now it feels almost weightless, gliding through the upper air with only the faint whisper of wind slipping past the fuselage. The pilot's body, still tense from the crushing ascent, slowly adjusts as the G-forces ease, but the tension in his mind sharpens instead of fading. He exhales deeply, steadying his breathing, and shifts his focus to the sky around him. The canopy offers a wide but fragile window into a vast emptiness where every distant shape could mean life or death. Without the engine, there is no second chance, no ability to climb again or reposition freely. Every decision from this point forward must be precise. His gloved hands move carefully over the controls, making small adjustments to maintain speed and altitude, conserving the aircraft's precious energy as it slices silently through the cold air. The instruments in front of him settle into a calmer rhythm, their needles no longer jumping wildly but still demanding constant attention. The altimeter ticks slowly now, a quiet reminder that gravity is patiently reclaiming what the rocket had stolen. He scans the horizon, eyes narrowing as he searches for movement, dark specks against the pale sky, the telltale formation of enemy bombers. The silence amplifies everything, his heartbeat, the faint creak of the airframe, the rush of air growing slightly louder as the glide continues. Time feels compressed, every second more valuable than the last. He knows the Komet is now a hunter with limited reach, a blade thrown through the sky that cannot turn back. The vast openness around him is both freedom and trap. Somewhere ahead, the enemy must appear, and when they do, there will be only a single fleeting moment to strike before momentum carries him past. A formation of bombers finally comes into view ahead, dark shapes moving steadily across the sky, and the pilot aboard the Messerschmitt Me 163 Komet reacts instantly. His eyes lock onto the target, calculating distance, speed, and angle in a matter of seconds. There is no time to circle, no opportunity to line up a second pass. He gently lowers the nose, converting altitude into raw speed as the aircraft begins its attack dive. The wind outside grows louder, a rising howl that replaces the earlier silence, and the cockpit begins to tremble once again under the increasing velocity. His grip tightens around the control stick, making fine, deliberate adjustments to keep the target centered in his sights. The bombers grow larger with terrifying speed, their defensive guns already beginning to flash in the distance. Tracer rounds streak past, thin lines of fire cutting through the air, reminding him that he is not just the hunter, but also a target. The canopy rattles as the Komet tears through the sky, faster than almost anything around it, yet the closing distance feels impossibly short. For a brief moment, everything aligns. The lead bomber fills his view, engines, wings, and fuselage clearly visible. He steadies his aim, holds his breath, and squeezes the trigger. The cannons erupt with violent force, the recoil shaking the aircraft as bursts of fire leap forward. The confined cockpit amplifies every sound and vibration, shell casings rattling and bouncing as the weapon spits destruction in a short, controlled burst. In an instant, the moment is gone. The Komet streaks past the formation at incredible speed, leaving chaos behind, but offering no chance to confirm the damage. The pilot cannot turn back, cannot slow down. The attack is over almost before it began, a single fleeting strike executed in seconds as momentum carries him far beyond the battlefield. With the attack behind him, the Messerschmitt Me 163 Komet becomes something entirely different, no longer a blazing interceptor, but a silent, powerless glider suspended high above the earth. Inside the cockpit, the pilot feels the shift immediately. The urgency of combat fades, replaced by a colder, more personal tension.
There is no engine to rely on now, no thrust to correct mistakes. Every meter of altitude is precious, and every decision carries weight. He studies the ground far below, searching for the landing strip that seems impossibly small from this height. The aircraft descends steadily, the altimeter ticking down with quiet inevitability. The wind noise grows louder again, not as a roar, but as a constant reminder of speed that cannot be reduced at will. His hands move carefully over the controls, making subtle adjustments to maintain the correct glide path. Too steep, and he risks a brutal impact. Too shallow, and he may never reach the runway at all. The cockpit feels tighter now, the confined space amplifying his focus. Sweat gathers under his helmet despite the cold air, and his breathing becomes slow and controlled as he prepares for the most dangerous phase of the mission. The Komet was notorious for its unforgiving landings, and he knows that even a slight miscalculation could be fatal. There are no wheels beneath him, only a skid that offers little forgiveness on contact. The aircraft rushes up faster than expected. He aligns the aircraft as best he can, holding it steady as the final moments approach. Then, impact. The skid slams into the earth with a jarring force that shakes the entire frame. The cockpit rattles violently as the aircraft scrapes across the surface, sparks flying outside as metal grinds against the ground. The deceleration is harsh but brief, and finally, the Komet slides to a stop. For a moment, there is only silence. The pilot remains still, gripping the controls, listening to the ticking of cooling metal. He has survived the flight, but with this machine, survival is never guaranteed until the very end.